We proclaim the blessings. May you have a peace in your heart. You are the one who will save the world. We lift up signals over all the peoples. And it's very gracious praise. Thank you for this. And it must be our prayer. In this remnant era, we must put this in our heart. And if we have this person with this heart, then through this one, everyone will be in one. And you must enjoy this blessing of this person. He's a creator of all the heavens and the earth with his words. And he is with us, and he's working on us with his words, and he's moving this world. And through his words, and he is in control of this world, and the center of his words, what is it? That is, he is working on reviving, recovering the gospel. If anyone loses hold of the gospel, then they will face failures of their lives. On the other hand, if people recover this gospel and God let them enjoy all the blessings from the Lord. And in the history of the gospel and this Bible, he shows this. And through this very short time, and through this very moment, and everyone will have a deep root in the gospel and will enjoy this blessing in the name of Jesus. And today's title is I'm the Lord who does all these things. And I'm the Lord who did all these things. And the last verse said that I'm the Lord who does all things. And I make all the I'm the Lord who does all the things in verse 7. What God did to us is the first. God is in control of everyone on earth. Especially verse 1 says there is a King Cyrus, and we took a close look at this king. And the Isaiah chapter 45 verse 28 is about the King Cyrus. And he says this, and he will achieve all my pleasures according to Jerusalem. And I will put the base of my temple, and it's all about the King Cyrus, and specifically he's talking about the missions of Cyrus, and he's talking about the specific, the detailed things in Ezra. And Cyrus, when it comes to Cyrus, is a non-believer, and for the sake of his chosen people, God prepared this King Cyrus. And before the King Cyrus, and all the nations will be knelt down before the King Cyrus. And there were very strong, 13 strong nations around Cyrus, among these, there were so many strong nations like Babylon and Assyria, but they were all conquered by the hands of the King Cyrus. And the main passage today is about He's already talked about the blessings that he will give to Cyrus. And verse 1 says that whose right hand I have grasped, to stop the nations before him, and to loose the belts of kings, and open the doors before him, and the gates may not be closed. That is about the losing the belts of the kings, and what is the source of the power that comes from the waist and the body. And when you think can you imagine that you are running without the belts around your waist, but so you will lose a little bit power. Then the verse says that the losing the belts of the kings, and that they will be powerless, and God will let them lose their power, and open the door before him, the gates may not be closed. And just imagine that the temples with a very with the gates closed, then you cannot conquer. Then they said that God will let Cyrus attack and invade nations. Then God will open the gates for Cyrus. What is the reason for this? Because Israelites, they don't have any power. The chosen people, the Israel people, didn't have any power at the time, and they do not have any power to build the temple of the Lord, and they didn't have ability to do this. So God is using this non-believer Cyrus for the Israel people to build up the house of the Lord. And we just read this book of Isaiah, and Ezra is about that comes after the event comes after the Isaiah, but in the book of the Bible, the Ezra comes before the Isaiah, and they just edited the Bible. They just put it before the Isaiah, and it's about when we make the books of history books, and they will tie up all these scriptures. And Ezra actually should have come long after the Isaiah, but then Ezra is talking about the exact details of what God did to Cyrus, and you must read this first, Ezra. And he orders Cyrus to let the Israel people go and make the temple of the house, and you must let them go to their land and build up the house of the Lord. And they must not go with empty-handed, but they must take all the treasures and the money and the silver and gold with them. And Jerusalem was under captivity of Babylon, and all the treasures, the gold and silver, were transferred to the Babylon, and it was kept in the secret places. And he just let the Israel people have all these treasures and go back to your land and build up the Lord, the house of the Lord. And under the captivities of for 70 years, they have their own sons in the Assyria. And it's about like 1.5 generation and two second generations. But all the children didn't want to go back to their nation, but God ordered them. And the Bible, according to the Bible, said, okay, you don't need to go back to your land, but you make money, and you must send all the money for the construction of the Lord of the house. That is written in the Bible. After making the money, you must support to construct the house of the Lord. And this unbeliever, the King Cyrus did this through the hands of the Lord. For some reason that for Cyrus it was really big loss in the nation Persia. If they send all the slaves to their nations, then it will be lost to the nation too. And even give all the treasures and silver and gold to them and ask them to build up the Lord of house. What is it? What is the reason for this? Because God planned this. God planned this ahead of time. God prophesied this ahead of time, and Cyrus grabbed hold of this covenant, and he did according to the will of the Lord. And God said this before the birth of the Cyrus, even 150 years ago. 100 years before the King Cyrus was born. And they must, the Israel people must go back to their land and build up the house of the Lord. It was already written. It was already said through the words of the Lord. Then even 150 years ago, how did people know that the name of the king and the king, what he did? what he would do. That is possible for the Lord to do this. Even he is talking to Cyrus as if he's talking in front of the King Cyrus. And it says that God is accomplishing words as he says exactly. Isaiah chapter 45 verse 4 says, and just to Cyrus, the sake of my servant Jacob and Israel my chosen, I called you by your name, I named you, though you do not know me. And in fact, and he delivered this message to Cyrus. And as I told you that he is a non-believer, then why did he deliver this message to the non-believer? In the book of the Bible, and it is a unique case. It is the only case that the God told the non-believer Cyrus. In the Old Testament, he appeared in the dream of the king Egypt, Pharaoh, and Nebuchadnezzar, the king Nebuchadnezzar. But it was a unique case, and the only case that he just showed himself in front of the non-believer Cyrus. So it shows that even non-believers can be used by his hands, and he is in control of non-believers. And Proverbs chapter 16 verse 4 says that the Lord has made everything for its purpose, and even the wicked for the day of trouble. Even the wicked for the day of trouble, God has made everything for its purpose. That means the wicked people can be used according to His will. Even the wicked can be in control of God. And especially the King Cyrus, he was not the person who believed in the salvation of the Lord, but he knew the existence of God. He didn't know the secret of the mystery of the salvation, but he knew that God exists. What do you think about it? And all the people in the South America and the Philippines, and some people might know this because when they go to the Philippines, and the people know that the God exists, and they know Jesus because they are under the influence of the Catholic Christians, and as soon as they were born, and they just were influenced by the existence of God, even though they have nothing to do with God, their life has nothing to do with God. It seems like they have something with God. It's like a Cyrus, and when you go to America, it is difficult for you to spread the gospel because Americans, they do know God and they have a walk of faith, but when it comes to their lives, they have totally nothing to do with God. And at some point, and the Cyrus was the same case. In other words, and they do not know the work of the Lord, but they know the existence of God. There was Cyrus, and this God used this King Cyrus. That means that he is in control of all the creatures on earth, and God is the one, the creator of all the earth, and even non-believers, believers, they're all in God's hand. And while living on this earth, you don't need to be afraid of people, because God is in control of all the peoples, and you must recover your walk of faith. That God exists, and God is in control of all the creatures, and God is working on us, and even God is controlling the non-believers to accomplish His words. You must recover this faith in the name of Jesus. And secondly, God is in control of all the creatures, and God did all these things. He said, I'm the Lord. And secondly, He is in control of all the creatures. Every creature on earth. And verse 3 says, I will give you the treasures of darkness, and the hoards and secret places, that you may know that it is I, the Lord, the God of Israel, who calls you by your name. And the important thing is that there's the treasures of darkness and the hoards in secret places. What is the meaning of this? God is preparing the best places and the secret places and everything that we need. That is called the hidden finance. And especially, He prepared this in time, but the right time of God, and we feed the pig to eat them. And South America, they come to Korea for the trainings, and it's the one of the amazing things they experienced is they just taste chicken soup, samgyetang in Korea, and they also have the many dishes with these porks, and also they really enjoy the taste of samgyetang here in Korea, because they just were amazed with this one chicken in one spot. And all this, think about this. Have you imagined how people feed the kitchen and their in their fence, and if they just feed the kitchen chickens and send them to the market. And Cyrus tried to conquer the nations, and Cyrus just feed all the nations around them. God let the Cyrus feed all the nations around them, and God made them rich. And so, the right time, the Cyrus took all the treasures and silver and gold from the nations, from all the strong nations, so that the Israelite people used these treasures to build up the temples. That means God is preparing the hidden finance for us, and you must open the eyes to see this hidden economy. And the non-believers could not see this, but the Israel people and the chosen people and God's people can see this, the hidden economy, and especially the worldly economy. With the world economy, the things that transcend the world economy is that God, the hidden economy by God. The economy, the finance is on God's hand. First of all, you must make your efforts to make money. And as I said in the first service, and you do not expect all the good fortunes. All the economy is within God's hands, and there are the finances that you must labor. You must make an effort to recover the finance. Of course, non-believers can receive the blessings of this economy, the finance. But for us, there is the economy that God must bless. That is the hidden economies that must specialize, and all the specializations coming from the specialities must be blessed by the hands of the Lord. And it is especially the uniqueness out of this speciality will bring these answers for the world evangelizations. And this uniqueness, and we will receive the three answers, which are to be blessed by the Lord, and they will be used for the world evangelization. They must be blessed by the hands of the Lord. And first, that is the economy that we must labor, and the hidden places, the blessings or the economy that God allows us to have, and the hidden finances, and that is the economy of the light of the economy. And then God separated this for this hidden finances, that God separated it for His chosen people. And as much as you enjoy this, and as much as you are aware of this, that you can enjoy this. And in this Bible, and all these finance and the gospel come together. And especially David, he prepared the temple of the Lord, and God blessed this David even up to the point that God just stopped the people bringing their treasures. And when it comes to the economy of light, and through Joseph, God gave the blessings to Joseph to save the nations, not only his nation but also the Egypt. And the early church is not like all the poor people, but through these early church members, God did word evangelizations. And in the church, there was a famine, and the people were dying because of the lack of the food. But they had the blessings. Even they can share their fortunes with other people around them. That means that there is the separate places, there is a hidden places that God allows us to have for this economy of light. Of course, there are lots of economies that you must labor, but the economy of light, the hidden treasures must be prepared, and there should be in the hands of the Lord. And God allows the people who are aware of this to enjoy these blessings. And Priscilla Aguilera in the book of the Bible, the Romans, and they were exiled from Rome. And for some reason, they might have had the scars, but God blessed their job. By trade, they were a tent maker, but at the era of this period that the Priscilla and Aquila, and there was a really good timing that God allowed them to have these good fortunes, and God blessed this their trade, the tent makers, and they just found the hidden treasures, the hidden finance. And Philemon, there's only one chapter, and this Philemon gave all the supports to poor, and he gave everything that he had to poor. He died the lack of the money? No, he was really rich, and he just shared all the fortunes with poor and support poor. And we are praying for this Hana RUTC, and all the church members must communicate for the Hana RUTC, and must pray that all the young people and remnants must have deep root in the gospel. And if don't, we do not have any power, and we do not have any future of the church and future of you. And for some reason that we, the remnants and even the really children have lost their powers because they were melted into the culture of the world. And without smartphone, they cannot live even a day. And it's really easy for them to access the culture of the smartphone, and they cannot concentrate on their studies, and they are very distractive, and the people are out of the control because they are so lost. Because through the three organizations and the world, the culture of the world, and wants to find and wants to build up the church. That at the summit, the remnants were trained, and for 237 nations, and the remnants must be trained and must be sent to other nations as an evangelist. And I'm sure that the remnant, even one remnant with this mystery of the gospel, can change this nation, change this world. And we can't do this. And of course, I'm sorry to say this, us, but when I look at myself, I have to admit that I can't do this. We must build up this remnant, right remnants, and these children are listening to the message, it's really surprising, and the pleasant things that I feel is that the summit Hana RUTC prepares this after-school programs in the summit school from Monday to Friday, and people are playing in the playground of the church. And whenever I see them, I'm really delighted. It's okay. They just for them to learn, and it's okay for them to learn, fall down. But through these people, we have a future of this nation. We have a future of this church. And we, as adults, we just want to settle down in this present, and we face the problems, and we want to deal with these problems. And through this, how can we raise the remnants with this kind of person? And the remnants to go out this world, and with this gospel, change this world. We must raise the remnants who can change this world. Especially, we must pray for the remnants and the young people, and must revive and save the remnants and the young people. And with this prayer requests, and this for 237 nations, and for the remnants and the young people, and God will let us have these hearts in the secret places. You must recover your vocal face. Do not look at your level and your standard. God is in place, and God placed everything ahead of time for the Cyrus to order the Israelites to build up the house of the Lord. And there is very important verse in 7. I form light and create darkness. I make well-being and create calamity. I make well-being and create calamity. And this well-being and calamity belongs to the Lord. And will be living. Of course, you face this kind of well-being and calamity. But whether you experience this well-being and calamity, you must look up to the Lord. You must fix your eyes on the Lord. Many people, when they face difficulties, they try to find the Lord. But if they are peaceful, they do not look up to the Lord. They do not fix their eyes on the Lord. That's why they crumble down. When you are peaceful, when you are at rest, you must look up to the Lord. You must fix your eyes on the Lord. And James chapter 5 verse 13. That is anyone among you suffering? Let him pray. And anyone's cheerful? Let him sing praises. You must fix your eyes. Then His pleasures will be yours. Whether you are under the well-being or the calamity, you must fix your eyes on the Lord all the time, because God is the creator of all the people and the matters on earth. And lastly, and verse 2, let us read together. I will go before you and level the exalted places. I will break in pieces the doors of bronze and cut through the bars of iron. And in this Bible, whenever His chosen people face the difficulties and crises, and God promised this, I will go before you. I will go before you and level the exalted places, and I will break them in pieces of the doors of bronze and cut through the bars of an iron. What is the meaning of this? Finally, He will visit the nations, 13 nations, and they will make them yield before you, ahead of you. And Jericho and all the people, Israel people out of Egypt, they were not drowned in the river of the Jordan. And that was the God's accomplishment, God ahead of time visited the places and saved all the Israel people at the time. And Rahab, there was a spy, and he reported that God, before we find the land of Canaan, God worked on it. Joshua chapter 2 verse 9 says that he said, "The man, I know that the Lord has given you the land, and that the fear of you has fallen upon us, and that all the inhabitants of the land melt away before you. For I have heard that the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea before you when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to the kings of Amorites who were beyond the Garden, to Sihon and Og, who you devoted to destruction." That is the working of God ahead of time, ahead of you. In Antioch church, there was a big revival, and God reported this, spread this to other nations, and the people heard this news. They came to this place. In Acts chapter 11, verse 21, God's hands was with him, and a large number of people sent Barnabas to Antioch. And this church enjoyed his answers and the Gospels, and the news spread it to the nations. And who spread this news? Who reported this news? When you enjoy this Gospel, as long as you enjoy this Gospel, God will report this news to others. Of course, you need to go out and invite the people, but first you must enjoy the Gospel inside you. That is the blessings of the Antioch church, that God spread this news. God did this. God is accomplished His words, and God did all these things. I am the Lord who will do these things, all these things, and God is a creator of all the people and all matters. And before happening, God said this. God prophesied this. That means we must get rid of your disbelief. God's words will be accomplished definitely, and nobody can stop His words. And through His words, and it will be accomplished. That you must get rid of, discard your disbelief in. As long as you grab hold of the gospel, then there will be the right time and the starting point of enjoying His blessings. Let us pray. Father God, thank you that you did all these things for us, and you are grabbing hold of us, and you are in control of all matters on earth. And we must grab hold of this covenant, and we must enjoy this your blessing. I pray in Jesus' holy, wonderful name. Amen.